UK author Lee Child has sold nearly 200 million books in his Jack Reacher series. He's now entrusted the continuation of Reacher's crime-fighting escapades to his younger brother Andrew, but recently published a behind-the-scenes look at how each of the thrillers was inspired and written. It's his first ever autobiographical collection, and his methods of writing may surprise you. Lee Child joins me now from the Lake District in the UK. So starting at the very beginning, you wrote book one, Killing Floor, 30 years ago with a pencil when you found out that you were being made redundant. So what happened next?
Well, I thought I'd better get another job, that's the problem with losing your job. And I thought, what can I do? And I had no idea, but I had this long-standing wish to write a novel. So I thought, this is the time to do it. So yeah, I did it with a pencil because I'm a terrible hobbyist. I'm always buying stuff. And I thought, no, this is a job. I have to prove it. I have to take it seriously. So I won't buy a computer until I've earned some money.
So you still have that pencil, don't you, from the very first book? You've kept it.
Yeah, I kept it, and it's like this long now. It's been sharpened so many times.
So you got your paper and your pencil out and you wrote Killing Floor. Once that was finished, you found a publisher and you set about writing a book a year with great discipline, always beginning on September the 1st. And I was floored by this, Lee, I have to say. You don't have a plan or even an outline. The story just unfolds as you write it?
Yeah, because I live for the story. And if I mapped it out ahead of time and figured out who did it and what was happening, then I would know that story and I would be ready for the next story. So what I want to do is have the same feeling that I hope the reader is going to have. I sit down to write and I think, wow, what's going to happen today? That's what I want the reader to feel, and I feel the only way to get that is if I feel the same.
Do you always write in a, quote, painfully linear way? In your latest book, you describe being stuck at just 11 words into Bad Luck and Trouble, which began, the man was called Calvin Franz and the helicopter was a... And then you had to stop because you needed to research helicopters and you couldn't move on until you did?
Exactly. I can't do that. A lot of writers just leave a gap there or put XXX and then fill it in later, but I can't do that. Because it's a no plan, every sentence depends on the previous sentence, and so it's got to be complete. So I remember that very well. I wrote 11 words, and then I had to go to the store and buy a book about helicopters and figure out which one it was. And many examples of that are in this book.
And so you don't go back and revise at all, or do you do a little bit of revision at the end?
I read it through one time, and what I've always found is that I have a subconscious worry the book is going to be too short. So there are always a couple of paragraphs in it that are no good. And I've left them in because I don't want to make the book feel short while I'm writing it. But then at the end, when it has come out the correct length, I can go back and take out those bad paragraphs.
Lee, I'm wondering what your advice would be, what advice you would give to writers who are starting out today.
The honest advice I would give is ignore my advice, because the only way a book works really well is if it's vivid and organic and has a beating heart of its own. And the only way you can get that is if it's your imagination, 100%, your book, your story. If you start saying to yourself, oh, well, Stephen King does this later in the book, John Grisham does it earlier, Lee Child doesn't do it at all. If you start thinking like that, then you're writing by committee and it will never be any good.
That is good advice. I think maybe budding writers should listen to that, at least. Now, Jack Reacher, of course, he's a towering 6'5" former military police officer. His defining physical trait is that he's built, he's huge. Do you regret at all that Tom Cruise, who is known to be a little bit on the shorter side, was the actor that played Reacher in the films?
I sort of don't in one way and do in another way. It was great for the Reacher brand. Tom is the world's last huge movie star, and he promoted Reacher all around the world, which was fantastic. But the people that already knew and loved the series were appalled, and I can completely understand why. Tom lacks that immense invulnerability that Reacher presents. And so in a lot of ways it worked, but in some crucial ways it didn't work. And so we were very happy to change it and move to television with Alan Ritchson, who is much more physically like Reacher ought to be.
Yes, so Alan Ritchson, we know that he's about 6'4" in real life, and he is let's say, a very muscly character. So do you think maybe he is better to play the series? And I wonder too, what your take is on the online chatter that Ritchson plays Reacher as a neurodiverse character. I mean, is he?
Well, I like that chatter because I've never really specified it, and I don't really mind where Reacher falls on the spectrum. I mean, if he's at the very left-hand end, that's fine, whatever. But I recognize in the writing, yeah, he is odd. Reacher is an odd guy in a lot of ways, which he doesn't really worry about, but he presents as a different type of person. And so, yeah, he is a little neurodiverse, but then aren't we all? You know, we're all a little strange in some ways.
Why make Reacher so big? Was this in a way born out of your fascination I've read about with the David and Goliath story?
Yeah, as a little kid, I loved that story, and I had a Ladybird book with pictures in it about it, and I thought he was tremendous, and I wanted him to win. And I remember about at the age of, say, 4, I read that book over and over, hoping that one day Goliath would win, but he never did. So I thought, let's make Goliath the good guy and also give the reader that sense of security and comfort. Suppose you were unchallengeable. You could walk down any street anywhere and not worry about it. I think that's reassuring to the reader, and they want to be in that position. So it gives me a problem dramatically. How do you challenge a guy like that? But that's my task in every book, is to figure out what is the problem he's going to face that puts him in danger.
It feels like almost everybody I know here loves Reacher, and in fact my nephew's middle name, Lee, is even inspired by you. Are New Zealanders particularly avid fans?
They are, and I love it. New Zealand is the world capital of Reacher madness, and I think pro rata per head of population, I do better in New Zealand than anywhere. I just wish it had a gigantic population instead of being a small country.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now, you've handed the writing of the series over to your younger brother, Andrew. Are you able to just leave him to it?
Yeah, I am, very much so. And people find that surprising in a way, that I'm kind of giving away this character. But that's the whole point of writing. You want to give it away. First of all, you want to give it to the reader. You want the reader to own that character, and for the reader to feel that character is theirs. And so the whole point of writing is that you pass it on to somebody else, and of course film or TV or whatever. So it feels quite natural to me. I think he's established enough that people know who he is, and Andrew won't alter that in any way, so I think it'll work fine.
Is there perhaps, though, one more Jack Reacher book in you, maybe set in Donald Trump's America?
Well, you know, never say never. And so I'm always writing something, usually short things or whatever, but it might happen one day. You never know. The question is, suppose that I don't announce it and it gets published under Andrew's name, for instance. Would anybody notice? That would be the real test.
Well, is that what you're planning on doing, perhaps?
Well, I'm just throwing that out there to keep people guessing.
Keeping us on our toes. You always have been. Your books are written to appeal to a wide audience. And I wonder what you make of the current global romantasy phenomenon, a combination of fantasy fiction and romance novels, and why they are having a really prolonged moment on the world stage.
Well, I think it goes right to the heart of what is fiction for. And fiction is for giving you what you don't get in your real life. And for crime fiction, for instance, if you get burgled or your car is stolen, the real world, there's no solution to that. There's no closure. You never get your car back. You never get your stuff back. You're frustrated and annoyed. So you turn to crime fiction, where you do get your stuff back and the crime is solved. And the same thing with romance and fantasy. You're in a different world that is not the boring old world that you deal with every day. And all guys, probably all women too, have been in the situation. you're out somewhere and you see some fabulous woman or great-looking guy, and of course you don't do anything about it. Nothing happens because that's real life. But in a book, of course it can happen. You go to dinner, you go on a great date, you fly away for a weekend to the Caribbean or somewhere. So fiction gives us what we don't get. And so I think, yeah, it's all genres are going to be really popular and engaging, especially things that really engage our emotions, like romance. I love it. Yeah, I love the possibility that you can be in a different world where the girl says yes instead of telling you to get lost.
Have you read any of these books, the Akatar series or Fourth Wing, Quicksilver, for example? Have you had a go at any?
Sure, I'd love to read everything that I can find. And I sort of feel I need to know what's going on, what's popular, how people are responding. So I dip my toe into every genre. And I say good luck to him. Keep going. Strike while the iron's hot and have fun.
Brilliant. Lee Child, wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time and for your brilliant books.
A real pleasure, and thanks to everybody in New Zealand for being such great Reacher supporters.